Listen to a conversation between a university student and an employee in the Student Services Center. Yes, how can I help you?
I'd like to buy a campus parking pass for next year.
Certainly. Did you want a limited or unlimited? And just for fall quarter or for the entire school year?
I was thinking of one for the whole year, but I'm not sure. Does the year include summer quarter? 'Cause I won't be here then.
No, summer term is extra. The year includes fall, winter, and spring quarters. A yearly pass is valid only from the start of fall term to the end of spring term. This year, that's, let's see, September 22nd to June 7th.
Oh, okay. And you said there were two different kinds, limited and unlimited?
Yes, a limited pass lets you park in any campus lot, only on days school is in session. During holidays and on weekends, you would have to pay the normal parking rate. With an unlimited pass, you can park in any lot on any day during the school year, including weekends and holidays. Like I said, between September 22nd and June 7th.
How much do they cost?
A limited pass is $100 and an unlimited pass is $150.
All right, I'll buy an unlimited, I guess. What do I have to do?
First, I'm going to give you a registration form. This gives us information about your car. Fill it out and bring it back to me when you're ready. You can pay by cash, check, or credit card. Then, I'll give you a sticker to put on the corner of your windshield. Make sure that sticker is in place when you park, otherwise, you will get a ticket.
No problem. So, does this pass guarantee that I'll get a parking space? I mean, are there, special places set aside in each lot for people with parking passes?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, the answer is no. Parking is on a first-come, first-served basis. If a lot is full, you'll have to park somewhere else or wait until another car leaves.
I see. How much does, regular parking cost without a pass?
It's $2 an hour or $10 a day. You're getting an excellent deal.
Thank you. Oh, just one more question. Do you need all the money up front, or can I make payments?
I'm afraid I need it all at once. Sorry. Listen to part of a lecture from an American history class. Most scholars agree that women have been shortchanged in United States history textbooks. Because a woman has never been a U.S. president or a commander, a major commander anyway, in a war, these scholars argue that historians have overlooked or ignored the contributions women have made to U.S. history. In recent years, though, a new view of women's history has emerged. It's called women-centered history, and it's forcing historians to reinterpret traditional pictures of key historical events. Now they're looking at ways women contributed to history behind the scenes, if you will. For instance, though they didn't fight in wars or occupy the political stage, women formed organizations in places such as churches and clubs where they discussed ideas and learned skills that would later lead to their emergence in the historical spotlight. Jane Addams is one good example of this. She founded Houses for Poor People in Chicago and was an original member of the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU. She lobbied government for the rights of workers and women, which paid off in 1920 when women received the right to vote. In 1931, she became the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Woman-centered history starts with the premise that females played an important part in shaping U.S. history, and that the gender is unworthy historical distinction. This perspective is different from past models of studying women in U.S. history. One of the first models is called the contribution approach, which concedes that men played the leading historical roles, but demonstrates that women were vital supporting actresses at every landmark historical event. While this was certainly true, the contribution approach has been criticized because it highlights only the bravest and brightest women, and it also neglects the social role of women in everyday family life. A second historical model is called the victim approach, which emphasizes how men have oppressed women throughout history. Although obviously true, it tells only part of the story. It also tends toward emotionalism, overly dramatizing the woman's plight. Critics charge that under the victim approach, the only women who stand out are the unusual ones, such as the famous Salem witches of the 17th century. The rest are weak, helpless victims of a male-dominated world. Women-centered history tends to balance the contribution and victim approaches. Instead of asking, how have women helped men, or how have men oppressed women, it asks simply, what have women done? Now, in one sense, it still gives only a partial picture, because it examines history from only one perspective. But in another sense, it gives a fairer and more complete portrait of U.S. women's past than the previous two models. One historian, named Gerda Lerner, says women-centered history tells how women have survived and contributed in a male world on their own terms. Miss Lerner claims that woman-centered history best portrays the balance of interaction between women's oppression and women's power. I'm not sure about that, but I do know one thing. It has compelled historians to see certain historical processes in a new light, such as the 8th or 19th century temperance movement and the prohibition movement of the 20th century. As feminist scholars keep studying the history of U.S. women, more new approaches are likely to develop. For example, there are still several subcategories of women's history to consider, such as labor history, social status, the history of women in minority cultures, and so on. There are also class divisions, race divisions, ethnic divisions, and religious divisions. Finally, there is the history of women's interactions with other women, not just with men. Listen to a conversation between a bookstore sales clerk and a student. Can I help you? Are you looking for something in particular?
Yes, well, first, I'm looking for the foreign language section.
Oh, it's right down here. Here we are, foreign languages. What course are you taking?
Spanish, 431.
You need the intermediate Spanish textbook?
No, I still have that from 430. What I'm looking for is the novel we're supposed to read. Garcia Marquez's Cien Años de Soledad, 100 Years of Solitude.
Garcia Marquez. No. Oh, here it is, under Marquez. Can I help you? Here you are.
$18? The price is right, but, it's just the text. There doesn't seem to be any footnotes or any glossary.
Ah.
This is the only edition you have?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
How many copies do you have left? Just those on the shelf?
Yes, 4. No, 5 copies.
Geez, those will be gone by Friday for sure. Our class is really full. What's your return policy? Would it be okay if I bought this now and then returned it if I can find an annotated edition on the internet?
Yes, certainly. But you'll need to keep your receipt, of course, and be sure that the book is not marked up or damaged in any way.
Sure, that's fair enough.
Did you want me to check whether we can find you another edition?
I don't think I have time. It usually takes so long to get a book through a bookstore.
Unfortunately, that's often true.
Thanks anyway. I'll take this then and say, you have, sweatshirts, don't you?
Sweatshirts? Yes, in the school spirit section. Over this way and down here. Here you are.
Ah, yes. That's not much of a school crest.
Oh, there's a bigger one on the back. See?
Oh, yeah, of course. I see. This is a medium. I need a large, and, I think in green.
Medium, medium. Here, is this a large? Yes, large. Here you go.
Yeah, that's good. Say, do you know what our motto means anyway? Ex parentisia veritas. Out of something, something or other.
From determination comes truth. It's been SU's motto since it was founded in 1894, and this crest is an American bison conchiant upon tome vert.
What in the heck does that mean?
A buffalo lying on a green book. I think the idea was that this new pioneer state was getting its first institution of higher education. The buffalo represents the prairies, the green of the book, and the book represents learning.
Huh, that's really interesting.
Listen to part of a lecture from an art history class. Good morning. Ready to begin? Today I'd like to complement our study of Romanticism by examining more closely the life of Charles Fourier. That's four, like the number, then I-E-R. But before we study Mr. Fourier, let's review what we know about Romanticism. Who can tell me what Romanticism was and when it lasted? Yes, Mr. Stiles.
Romanticism was a cultural and artistic movement in Europe. It lasted for the first quarter of the 19th century.
Very nice, Mr. Stiles. Who would like to summarize the main message of Romanticism? Let's see, Miss Brown.
The main message was probably that artists should, that individuals should, use their imagination to choose the form and content of all art. The Romantics thought that the Enlightenment had kind of choked off imagination and feeling and creativity and, stifled all individual freedom.
Well put, Miss Brown. The Romantics loathed any type of rationalism. The Enlightenment had emphasized rationality and reason so much that the Romantics felt the individual had been demolished, reduced to an automated robot. It was time to liberate the soul, to break away and stand out, to reclaim individual freedom. Rousseau penned the rallying cry in the beginning of his Confessions. I am not made like any of those I have seen. I venture to believe that I am not made like any of those who are in existence. If I am not better, at least I am different. So then, it was against this backdrop that Charles Fourier appeared on the historical stage. Mr. Fourier was what Karl Marx would later dub a utopian socialist. He was one of three main utopian socialists, along with Robert Owen and Henry D. St. Simon. A utopian socialist, broadly speaking, was someone who employed socialist principles to create hypothetical versions of perfect utopias. Societies that were egalitarian or communal, in which people would live in perfect fairness and harmony. Utopian philosophers believed these kinds of societies could be achieved in the immediate future. Thus they planted the first seeds of the early 20th century socialist movement. Monsieur Fourier was born in northeast France on April 7, 1772, and he died in Paris on October 10, 1837. He was widely regarded as the most utopian of the utopian socialists. He argued vigorously, for instance, that women should have equal rights with men, and actually coined our modern word, feminism. Also, he thought the Industrial Revolution that was then taking place in England was simply a passing phase, that mankind would move beyond industrialism to something better. As to what that something better would be, Fourier had some rather unusual ideas. He was born into a well-to-do family of cloth merchants, and after he inherited his mother's estate in 1812, he had the money and time to pursue these notions. In his four published works, Fourier laid out a vision of a future community built on emotional bonds, fueled by what he called the laws of passional attraction. Basic human passions and drives had been repressed for too long, he argued. Now, these emotions needed to be openly expressed and harnessed. Men and women would live in self-contained housing units with 1,620 members. Why 1,620? Because Mr. Fourier had determined that people could be classified into 810 different psychological types. If you multiply this by 2, for men and women, you get 1,620. With such precise pairing, he was certain that the laws of passional attraction would produce ideal, harmonious relationships. Many of Fourier's ideas, to be frank, were perfect nonsense. He projected that his new world would last for 80,000 years, the last 8,000 of these in an era of perfect harmony. In this period, he predicted, among other things, that 6 moons would orbit the Earth, and that the seas would become oceans of lemonade. But sprinkled amidst his nonsense were enough kernels of fresh thought to qualify Fourier as an instrumental influence on later socialist thinkers such as Marx and Engels. Many think the most valuable of these kernels was Fourier's idea that work, especially heavy manual labor, could be turned into play, something deeply satisfying both mentally and physically. That was probably the one vision of Fourier's that most captivated later socialist thinkers. Listen to a conversation between 2 university instructors. "Ah, Michelle, I thought I'd find you here."
Hello, Henry. Yes, I'm afraid the smoker's lounge is about the only place I can relax in around here. Can I do something for you, or are you just slumming?
Well, I was wondering, you teach the afternoon section of modern social systems, don't you?
Yes, that's me. Why?
Have you got a student in there by the name of Steiger, Sarah Steiger?
Sarah? Yes, you know her?
I sure do. She's in my undergrad psychology seminar. She's beginning to be a real problem for the class, and I was just wondering how you were handling her. Or is she okay in your class?
Okay, yes. Well, not really, but she's just eager to learn, I think, don't you?
You think so? That's why she never stops asking questions? I'll tell you what I think. I think she already knows the answers before she asks. Or she's just asking for the sake of asking.
Huh? Why's that?
Well, half the time she wants to know about something we've already discussed in some detail, and half the time she has questions that are off topic or, well, just mindless.
I suppose you could be right about that. Sarah can certainly be irritating sometimes. Sometimes I feel I'm cheating the rest of the students by spending so much time explaining things to her.
Exactly, and I can see them all rolling their eyes. The rest of my class is a little irritated with her too.
Maybe we should just give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's just trying too hard, I don't know, to learn maybe, or maybe just to make an impression on us. I don't know what her motives could be.
Yeah, well, she's making an impression all right, but it isn't a good one. Any ideas? Proactive ones, I mean?
Well, I guess we should have a talk with her.
A talk? A private one, you mean?
Yeah, it's either that or just give her the cold shoulder.
I'm afraid I've already been giving her a bit of that. I thought maybe she'd take the hint and sit back, listen and take notes for a change.
She doesn't take any notes? She does in my class, voluminous ones.
Are you sure, Michelle?
Sure, I'm sure. She's always scribbling away.
But have you seen Sarah's notes?
Well, no, but...
I have. I took a peek over her shoulder a couple of times. She's a doodler.
A what? She doodles?
All over her notebook. I don't think she's keeping any kind of notes or paying attention at all to what I'm saying or what anyone else says in class. She's just daydreaming or dreaming up something irrelevant to inquire into. This morning, we'd been talking about Jung's theory of archetypes, and she suddenly blurted out, "What's an archetype?" Well, we'd been discussing archetypes for half an hour by then, and it was like she just realized she'd heard a strange word when the conversation was almost over.
Heh, that's Sarah all right. Okay then, who's going to talk to her, you or me? Okay. I'll see if I can get her to come in and talk to me later this week. I'll be seeing her in class tomorrow afternoon, I guess. Maybe I can get her to settle down a little. She doodles.
Yes, pretty good really. Complex architectural rococo things. Maybe she could go to art school instead of majoring in sociology.
That's Sarah's major, is it?
I think so. I think she mentioned that once. Anyway, yes. If you could have a little talk with her, that would be great. And let me know what happens. What you find out, will you?
Of course. I'll let you know how it goes.
Thanks, Michelle, very much. I owe you one. Now I've got to run before all this secondhand smoke does me in.
Haha, now don't start that.
All right, but you know you should really try to.
Henry.
Okay, thanks. See you.
Talk to you soon.
Listen to part of a university lecture in political science. Now, we're all familiar, I think, with the United Nations organization, and we're very accustomed to a world divided into nations. But many of you may not realize how recent the idea of the nation-state really is. Most of the history of civilization's been a history of much smaller units, from primitive tribes to Greek city-states, and later much of the larger units usually called empires. The concept of a political and cultural nation as we know it today didn't appear until near the end of the 18th century, at the time of the French and American revolutions. Let's look at a couple of terms first, just to make them clear. Strictly speaking, a nation is a cultural concept, a group of people in a particular area who are usually defined as sharing a common history, common traditions, the same language or ethnic origin, etc. A state, on the other hand, is a political concept. It's a political unit, an administrative unit, a territory controlled by a government. So what we're talking about here, nation-states, what we often call countries, are those areas where these two concepts, nation and state, are roughly congruent, where they coincide in time and space. And this is the basic structure, the infrastructure of civilization of the world we see today, the basis upon which treaties are signed, on which wars are fought, and for which people often die. One historian has said that a nation-state is an imaginary community because the citizens of even the smallest nation-state will never meet all their fellow citizens, or even hear about them. Yet in each citizen's mind is some image of oneness, of unity with his fellows. Some think that this image is the direct result of the development of printing and the popular press, which likewise expanded in the 18th century, and which in its language and its audience has helped define these national communities. Well, imagined or not, nation-states are very real to us today. In fact, they seem like the only natural form for society in spite of their very recent origins, don't they? But at that same time, they seem to be the cause of so much turmoil in our world. Wars, nuclear standoffs, ideological conflicts, conflicts over resources and markets. The list seems endless. So maybe we'd better take a more careful look at the factors that seem to contribute to the idea of nation-statehood. First, geography is an obvious factor. Countries like Japan and New Zealand have very clear boundaries, and their physical isolation makes these nations very homogeneous. However, geography is often irrelevant. Ireland and Cyprus are certainly very strong divided islands, and many countries, notably African countries, have boundaries that have nothing to do with natural features or ethnicity or anything else. They are simply straight lines drawn in the last century by former colonial powers. And then there's language, which is also used as a rationale for nationhood. The United States and Germany and France are all large, successful states that are defined mostly by language. But on one hand, many international boundaries cut directly across language lines, as with Belgium and the Netherlands, while on the other hand, countries like South Africa and India include speakers of many different languages. And a common ethnicity, that is, a common genetic background and a common cultural heritage, have certainly helped determine the identity of many nation-states. Nevertheless, many larger countries, like China, are composed of many ethnicities, while other ethnic groups, like the Kurds, for instance, are conspicuously stateless. Finally, one more major determinant is religion. Religion has also played a big part in defining nations: Catholic Ireland, Buddhist Nepal, and of course Jewish Israel. But again, many states suffer internal strife, violent conflict, on account of religious differences, Iraq being the most obvious current example. So it should be clear to you that none of these factors are foolproof definers of the nation state. In fact, they often complicate the situation. Would it then be reasonable, therefore, if we divided Iraq, for instance, into three nations, into Sunni and Shiite and Kurdish nations? Would that solve many of their problems? Probably not. Drawing lines usually just creates new problems. Minorities become smaller minorities. Surrounding states endure altered confrontations. The fracturing of other states is encouraged, and redrawing a state's boundaries wrongly suggests that conflicts, ethnic and religious and linguistic conflicts, can be decided by dividing peoples, when the real solution probably lies in trying to unite them, lies in recognizing individual rights, in devolving power to the local level, and in a sort of pan-nationalism that focuses on maximizing cooperation among nation-states, and in that way minimizing the impact of hard boundaries poorly defined by any factor. This is what is happening so successfully with the European Union, the organization which we'll be taking a closer look at now. Listen to a conversation between a student and her coach. Good workout, Cindy. You're going to be in good shape for the intramurals next month.
Yeah, woo, if you don't kill me first. Ah, whoosh, oh.
Okay, I get the hint. You can call it a day. Just be back here tomorrow at the same time, eh?
I'll be here, but can I talk to you a minute about something, Coach?
Sure. What is it?
Coach, I'm not doing so good in my courses this term.
Huh? What? I thought you were an A student. How bad could your grades be?
Pretty bad, Coach. The courses are getting harder. My grades are pretty awful in cost accounting, and I'm failing outright in economics. I'm just not getting the work done that I need to do. I just don't have enough time.
How'd you do in your midterms?
Not so good either. 62% on the economics test, 73% in cost accounting, and 79% in marketing, and that's supposed to be an easy course. I'm not going to graduate with those kinds of scores. I've got to get a lot more studying in before the finals. That's all there is to it.
Oh, so?
So, I'm not sure how much time I can give to football anymore. I was wondering, how would it be if maybe I moved back to the B squad? Kind of in reserve, so to speak.
In reserve? Cindy, you're the best forward we've got.
I don't know, Coach. Marley's good too. She just needs a chance to show her stuff.
Yeah, but she's not you, Cindy, and I, the team, we're counting on you. We've got to take on SFU first off next month, and Marley's hardly played with the A squad at all so far. I just don't know whether there's time to break her in now.
Oh, I can work with her during practice, Coach. She can do it. I know she can, and...
Wait a minute. Don't we have any other option?
What option is that?
Well, how about a tutor? Yeah, how about us finding you a tutor for those courses? Somebody that, could kind of give you what you need to pass your finals.
Aw, Coach, I've got to learn all this stuff myself. There's life after football, There's a lot of competition for jobs out there when I graduate. If I graduate.
I know, Cindy. You're absolutely right. I just don't want to lose you right before the tournament. You've worked so hard to get this far, and so have all your teammates.
Yeah, that's why I feel so bad about this. But I need this time to study. I really do.
I know. I'm just clutching at straws now. But how about this then? I let you work Marley into your position in A squad this week, and then you take the next 2 weeks completely off from practice. Study hard, and when's your first exam?
Economics is first, March 30th.
Okay, you take all the time off you need until then. And if you pass that exam, come back for the first round of the tournament at least, okay? That's the big one. If we can get past SFU then, confidence will carry us along from there. And we'll also have time to reassess your situation. Deal?
Can't make a deal yet, Coach. I just can't. Let me sleep on it, will you? Let me look at my schedule and try to figure this all out. And then I'll get back to you. I promise.
And think about that tutor, too. We'll get you one of those, too, if you think it'll help. I don't want to jeopardize your career any more than you do. And grades come first in my books, too.
Thanks, really. I feel like you're taking real good care of me.
Yeah, well, just take your time. You gotta do what you gotta do. But think it over. You're going to leave a big hole in the offense if you take off.
Thanks. Anyway, I'll be in tomorrow afternoon for more of your torture. Right now, I gotta take a shower and get out of here.
Good. No partying tonight, you hear?
Got you, Coach. Good night.
Listen to part of a university lecture in the Social Sciences Department. As a part of our study of the effects of diseases on society, of the social consequences of man's diseases, we should certainly include yellow fever. Now, yellow fever's a deadly disease that's caused by a virus, and it's been the source of many epidemics since at least the 18th century in Africa, Europe, and the Americas. In fact, it still kills more than 30,000 people a year worldwide, and there's still no cure for the disease. As a part of our study of the effects of diseases to immunize us against it, the road to the discovery of that vaccine was a rocky one, I think. It's called yellow fever because one of its symptoms is jaundice, a yellowish color that the skin takes on because of liver damage. It's transmitted by mosquitoes, either from man to man, this is called the urban cycle, or from monkey to man, this is called the sylvatic or jungle cycle. The disease probably originated in West Africa, and it was carried from there to the West Indies and the New World in the 18th century with the ships of the slave trade. The first big outbreak of yellow fever happened in Cuba in 1762 and 1763, and it killed thousands of American and British colonial troops there. After that, between then and 1900, it killed about 10% of Cuba's population. The next big epidemic hit in the heart of the United States, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1793. It killed 5,000 people there, while 20,000 more fled the city in panic. These included President George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, Dolly Madison, and most of the federal government officials, because you might remember that Philadelphia was the capital of the United States then. Washington, D.C. was still under construction, and it would not be a working seat of government until 1800. About 20 years after the Philadelphia epidemic, another significant yellow fever epidemic hit Haiti. In 1802, Napoleon Bonaparte had sent an expedition of 40,000 soldiers there with the intention of using the island as a base for invading the United States by way of New Orleans. New Orleans was, at that time, still in the hands of France, but Napoleon's army, including its commander, who was Napoleon's brother-in-law, was completely decimated by the fever, and his invasion plans were abandoned. Later in the same century, in the 1880s, France was again foiled and history was again changed by yellow fever. The French effort to build the Panama Canal ended in failure as a result of the heavy toll on the workers and technicians from both yellow fever and malaria. These epidemics continued to occur over and over because no one had been able to figure out how the disease was transmitted, how it was carried from person to person. In Philadelphia, Benjamin Rush, who was a signer of the Declaration of Independence and also the chief medical officer for the new government, Dr. Rush relied so heavily on bloodletting as a treatment that he probably killed more people than he cured. The most widespread theory was that yellow fever spread through contaminated water or by direct physical contact with infected people, and some people actually abandoned family members in their panic. The idea that mosquitoes were the disease vector, the method of transmission, had been proposed in 1881 by a Cuban scientist named Carlos Finley, but he hadn't been able to prove this to the satisfaction of other scientists. It wasn't until 20 years later, in 1900, that Carlos Finley's idea was finally proved. The United States Army had occupied Cuba after the Spanish-American War of 1898, and since Cuba was still considered to be the breeding ground for yellow fever in the New World, the U.S. government commissioned a U.S. Army surgeon, Dr. Walter Reed, to solve the problem before its occupation forces also succumbed to this disease. And Dr. Reed's team did soon prove that the mosquitoes were the culprits at their research center just outside Havana. As a result, yellow fever was quickly eliminated from Cuba, and the U.S. Public Health Service started a mosquito control program that included fumigation, eliminating or treating standing pools and bodies of water, and so forth. In addition, the Panama Canal was completed by the Americans, who then controlled the canal's operation for the next 99 years. And Walter Reed? Well, Walter Reed's name should be familiar to many of you. The Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C., is the well-known hospital where the U.S. President, U.S. Congressmen, and U.S. military personnel receive medical treatment.
Listen to a conversation between two students at the library.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry, but could I bother you for just a minute? I think I left a book in this carrel last night. Could you just take a look in the shelf for me?
Sure. What's the title?
Fundamentals of Bioengineering, or something like that. I forget the exact title. That's why I need it. It's sort of a green paperback.
Huh. Looks like a couple of other folks have left their books in here too. Why don't they put them back where they got them when they're through anyway?
Probably just forgot, like me. It's easy to forget a book in there after you've been sitting here going through books for 3 or 4 hours at night.
Yeah, I guess. I've done that too. How about, engineering basics? Is this it? It's not green though. It's kind of, turquoise.
That's kind of eerie, isn't it? That's really pretty close. No, not mine. Nothing else there?
Nope. Just a couple of works on Anglo-Saxon grammar. Want those?
I don't think so. I probably need one on English grammar, though. My paper on GM is not organized very well.
GM? General Motors?
No. Gene modification. It's due next Tuesday, and I'm barely half finished. And I need that book to check the pagination. I'm including some quotes out of it.
Well, sorry I can't help. It's just not here. Did you check the stacks?
Yeah, 'cause I thought at first I'd put it back. But it's not where it's supposed to be, at least.
Maybe somebody else has got it then. Somebody from your class, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. We've all got papers due.
Did you check at the desk? They can tell you if it's been checked out.
No, it can't be checked out. Our prof put it on reserve until the end of the term. Too many people might need to use it.
And there's only one copy? That's pretty rough.
Yup, I think so. Or, no, actually, I have no idea. I just presumed there was. I'll go check the catalog.
Yeah, there might be another one in the science reading room or the medical library. You know the author?
Jamison or, Jamiston. Why?
Because I can search it for you right now. Google Scholar.
Huh?
Yeah, haven't you heard? University Libraries has linked up with Google's search of library holdings all over the world.
Wow.
Just a sec. Jamison. And the title's something about bioengineering. So keyword bioengineering and Viola. Jamison. HJ. Fundamental Concepts of Bioengineering. Is that it?
Oh, yes. Great.
And Lisi, Tennyson University. Yes, here we are. Main Library and Medical Research Library. They've got a copy there too, it says.
That is really great. Thanks so much for your help. I'm sorry I took up so much of your time. I really appreciate this.
My pleasure. It's my major.
Huh?
Library science. You just gave me a little practicum.
Ha, well, glad to help then. I've got to go. The medical library closes for the weekend Saturday afternoon.
Better run then.
Thanks again. Bye.
Good luck.
Listen to part of a university lecture by a professor of physics. My next topic, I'm sure, will interest all of you. I want to talk to you now about black holes. Simply speaking, a black hole is what's left after a large star dies. You're already aware that a star is an energy producer, a nuclear fusion reactor. Its core is a gigantic nuclear fusion bomb that's trying to explode. But its mass of surrounding gases is so large that its gravity contains the explosion, and the balance that exists between the gravity and the fusion is what determines the star's size. However, as a star gets older, as it ages, its fuels get used up and its nuclear reactor slows down. And then its gravity gets the upper hand. The star implodes. Gravity pulls inward and compresses the stellar material into the star's center. As it's compressed, the core heats up tremendously, and then, at some point, a supernova, a great explosion occurs, and the stellar material and a lot of radiation are blasted out into space. Only the extremely dense, extremely massive core is left. Its gravitational field is so strong that nothing can escape it, not even light. So it disappears from view. It's black. It's now a black hole. Now, the idea of a black hole, an object with so much gravity that it won't let light escape, was first proposed more than 200 years ago in 1795 by a French mathematician, Pierre Laplace. He used Newton's gravitational theory to calculate that if an object was compressed small enough, it would require an escape velocity of almost 300,000 kilometers per second, the speed of light. More recently, the name of Stephen Hawking, the great British physicist, has become synonymous with black hole theory. A black hole consists of two parts, a singularity and an event horizon. Its singularity is the point where its gravity is indefinitely strong and its mass is indefinitely dense. And this point is theoretically at the center of the black hole's core. And its event horizon is the perimeter around the core at the distance where its gravity is still strong enough to pull light into itself, at the distance where escape velocity equals the speed of light, and where nothing can escape its pull. Both the singularity and the event horizon are intangible, of course, but both of them can be calculated mathematically. The distance of the event horizon from the core is called the Schwarzschild radius, and this radius is equal to 2gm divided by c squared, where g is Newton's gravitational constant, m equals the mass of the core, and c equals the speed of light. Even though we can't see them, black holes do exist, and we can prove their existence in three basic ways. One way is to search for celestial objects that are very small, but that have a very large mass. For example, the astronomical feature called M87 is only about the size of our solar system, but it weighs 3 billion times more than our sun. So it's a good bet that M87 is a black hole. Another way to find a black hole is to search for matter that's accelerating, because a black hole accelerates anything that approaches it. As the matter gets sucked in, it speeds up and heats up, and this superheated matter produces X-rays, which can be detected. The star Cygnus X1 is a strong X-ray source, so there's a good possibility that there's a black hole in its neighborhood. And finally, a black hole can be detected using Einstein's theory of relativity, which tells us that gravity can actually bend space, warp space. An object with a lot of gravity located between Earth and a more distant star can bend that star's light like a lens or a prism does. This is called the gravitational lens effect. In 1996, a gravitational lens passed between Earth and Macho 96 BL5, and the temporarily brightened image was photographed by both the Hubble Space Telescope and ground observers. Black holes are a bit frightening, but if the idea of a black hole sucking in the rest of the universe upsets you, let's put them into perspective. A black hole doesn't suck in everything in sight. It only affects nearby material. If a black hole with the same mass suddenly replaced our sun, then its Schwarzschild radius would be only 3 kilometers compared to our sun's radius of 700,000 kilometers. And since Earth is 150 million kilometers from the sun, it would be in no danger of being sucked in. Without the sun, though, Earth would be very cold and lifeless, I'm afraid.